Well, welcome everyone. I know more people will trickle in as they get to their lunch from their work. So today we've got Matt Hill coming to us from Brooks from Business Link, and today we're doing the second business startup workshop, and this one's the introduction to the business canvas, I believe. So we've got a lot of content to rip through in an hour. You're welcome to put your questions in the chat. In the interest of time, Matt is going to forge ahead and not address questions during the presentation. But when it's over, after an hour, you're welcome to hang out and ask Matt questions. He'll hang out with you. I'm going to ask you to turn off all of your mics if they're not already. You can keep your camera on if you want to. So Matt has someone to speak to. It doesn't matter much. And this is being recorded, so just keep that in mind. And the recordings people have been very grateful for the recordings. So we'll continue doing that for the series. And with that, I'll hand it over to Matt. We'll get rolling.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Michael. And yeah, with the chat, I'll gauge the time as we go through as well. And so if anyone does have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in there, or even just to keep track of your thoughts as you go along and to share any ideas that you have with the rest of the group. But if there are any sort of, big questions that will work better at the end, I'll address those there. So yeah, feel free. I'm not saying don't type in there. Also, it's a small enough group. If you feel like you want to comment, disagree, any of those things during the process, feel free to unmute yourself and say, hey, no, stop. I don't agree with that. Or if you have a question or comment, all of those are definitely welcome. And like I say, if you want your camera to be on, off, that's up to you. But yeah, just keep your mic off just for ease of audio for everyone else. So welcome. After all of that, we are looking at the business model canvas today, which is I'll go through it, obviously, step by step. I'll share it with you. Some people will be familiar with it. It'll be completely new to some people. So I'll sort of try and pitch it in the middle there. So at least we're addressing everyone. By the end of the session, really today, I mean, it is simple. I've put it in about as many words as I could fit on a slide, but to be honest, it should be much simpler. It's for you to become familiar with this tool, the business model canvas, so that you feel you can use it if you're thinking about a new business idea, or if you're thinking about a new product or service within your business, or if you're thinking, that's not working that great in my business. I got to look at this in a different way. The business model canvas is a great tool to help you do that. So you've been, let's say, offering the same type of service for 10 years, 15 years, and you've noticed a change recently. The business model canvas can just help provide a bit of a lens for you to look at your business, hopefully in a different light. The one thing that it has in common with anyone who did the workshop last week is really at the heart of it here is it's going to help you identify what makes your business unique. And I make no apologies about sort of banging that drum in every presentation that I do. It used to be called our unique selling point. We now maybe call it our unique value proposition, but it's what do you do better than your competitors? What do you do? How do you meet your customer needs better than other people, or at least in a different way? So that's the sort of crossover from last week. Very briefly, a little bit about Business Link, just so people know what to come to us for. I want to just bring your attention really to this first section here. We do lots of one-on-one advice with small business owners. So if after this session you're like, well, that's a great starting point, but it's a brief introduction, feel free to reach out, matt@businesslink.ca, and we can have more of a one-to-one. That's definitely something I can do, and I can talk to you then about the other services, things that we do for small businesses. Everything that we do is free for the entrepreneur. So it's a sales pitch, but it's not much of one. I don't have to take anyone's credit card at any point, unless they, of course, want to give it me, and I'm more than happy to accept it then. Okay, so the business model canvas. It is a tool. to help you understand your business model. And it gives us a structure to do that. It gets us really to ask some key questions about our business and take it from there. I've already noticed a spelling mistake on my next slide, so please forgive me. Anyone who spots it gets a gold star. So the business model canvas, this is what it looks like. It's widely available online. This is a great website if you want to dig deeper with this, strategizer.com at the bottom here. So the academic who develops this, that's his website, and you have to exchange your email, and there's lots of resources, videos, things like that on there for you. Also, there's tons of resources on YouTube as well if you want to dig deeper or find out more, or see good examples of businesses that have done business model canvases. So it's a great starting point. Some people wrongly call it like a business model, sorry, a business plan on one page, or a one-page business plan. If you take this to a lender, let's say you walk into Community Futures and you want to borrow some money, and you present this as your business plan, you're going to get some quizzical looks from them, because it doesn't include obviously key information, your financial information, what your marketing plan is, your operations plan. But what it does, it gets you to start considering those things. So quite often I get people come to me and they are very set on, I need to write a business plan right now. But they've really not thought about, okay, how is my business going to work? What unique value do my business have? Who are my customers? Those questions that it's actually impossible to write a business plan if I don't fully understand how that part works. So I see it really as a very early step for potential business owners. These are some of the groups and people that we see using the tool. And I know, because this is called the Startup Series, for lots of people, they're probably going to be in this 36% here of they're developing an entirely new business, something for the first time. Where we see it in larger organizations, and I work with a not-for-profit, and I know that we've used it when we thought about, oh, should we get into developing that service and that new offering? So it can be used in an existing business if you're thinking about doing something new. For some, I mean, strategic reorientation, another word for this potentially could be the pivot. So if we're thinking, okay, we've been in this track for a long time. Oh, no one can see my slides. I did this the other week as well. Thanks. I'm saying about my spelling mistakes and no one can actually see them. There you go. You can now. Thanks, Austin. Everyone else was was either so polite or they're not paying attention. So thanks for that, Austin. Okay, so yeah, people, the strategic or reorientation is moving our business in a different direction. And then other ways that we see it are renovating an old business model, or yeah, where we can see the variety of smaller things that we've got here. But for most here in this presentation, I'm expecting that they're thinking of it from a new business point of view. Thanks. Okay, and now we go on to, okay, well, what are the components? We can see what it looks like. There are all these, it's a blank canvas at this point. What are we going to put in each section of this? Step one, and the first thing we do is I'm going to use a bit of an example so we can carry it on through the whole of the presentation. It just helps us frame and get us to think about it from a real business point of view. So the example I'm using is someone who wants to start a business, an accommodation business, but she also loves her pet, and she wants to be able to travel to luxurious hotels and tourism experiences with her little dog. So she's planning to open a small hotel somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. She's not decided where yet, and that this hotel is going to be particularly pet friendly. In fact, pets are as welcome as you are. It's not only pet friendly, it's sort of pet encouraged. So that's the example we're going to take through the presentation. So the step one, the thing that we start by looking to develop, and I'm just going to switch my camera off for a second here. So the step one, sorry, one second. So everyone, can you someone put in the chat, you can see my screen clearly here? Perfect. Thank you. 321538. And everyone can see me. I've just lost my Zoom controls there, so I'm just going to bring them back. Okay, perfect. Okay, and so when we develop our value proposition, we think of it from our customer's point of view. We're customer centric in how we design this. It's not, I want to run this type of business. It's, what are the needs of my customers? And so that's where we start. And so here it's where we describe the products and services of our business and how they create value for our customers, what they do for them. And we can do it through a variety of ways, but I think it sort of comes to life when I bring the example here. And so the value proposition, the uniqueness that this business brings for her customers is that it's going to be the only hotel with pet-friendly bar and restaurant in the whole of the Rockies, in the Canadian Rockies. And it's going to have a pet pool and an off-leash park. These are some of the services or products that they offer that specifically meet the needs of the customers. And it's a hotel where your pet is treated as well as you are. And so those in themselves, it's valuable to know and understand them. But really where they come to life and where it's very, very important that we have is the next section. And so who are our customers? Because if we just track back for a second, these are only value propositions for certain types of customers. Like for me, none of these do anything for me whatsoever. Obviously, I don't own a dog. Like I'm indifferent about pets. I know that's maybe an unpopular thing to say, but like I don't, they don't read, like it doesn't, these value propositions, they don't mean anything really for me. I'm not going to be a customer of Lisa's Hotel. And so you really, really need to, at the same time as developing the value proposition, you need to be understanding who your customers are, and your value proposition should meet the customer where they are. And there are 3 questions, or at least thoughts to have. Who are you creating value for? So, and we're going to go through some ways of breaking down customer groups here. And then you're going to really delve deep into understanding who they are and what their problems are, what benefits are they seeking. And there is another tool, and it's called the value proposition canvas, for going a little deeper on that. And then finally, for putting on our business model canvas here, we're going to define, we're going to say clearly who our target market are. So for Lisa's, obviously there are going to be some which are pretty obvious for her, and then there are some which we may start by making guesses or assumptions about and go and do some market research to confirm those guesses. And so we can break down our customers in a variety of ways. In the past, they would often be done through maybe demographic breakdown. We'd say our customers were women over 50. Or we would look to this third one here of looking at geographic. We'd say they were from certain places because it would be easy to target those groups. But increasingly now, with lots of the data that we have access to, we can be much more focused about who our target market is. We can understand them much, much more. And so we can target groups based on their behavior or on their lifestyle, their personality, the things that they like in many, many different ways. And so when you come to thinking about your customer, who your ideal client is, who the customer is that you're providing value to, really don't just think on demographic or perhaps geographic terms. What behaviors do they have? Like, do they always adopt new technology first? Or do they seek out new experiences? How often are they likely to use your service or product? Or are there psychographic things? So things about their personality that make them, I don't know, they enjoy luxury, or do they have certain values? They value family time, or whatever it might be. But your customers are, they're not just an age or a gender. And in Lisa's Hotel's example, it's very, very possible that her target market isn't age or gendered. It is much more about how they live their lives. So don't just think you need to look at it in those simple terms. And tools like or marketing platforms like Facebook and things, and now give us that ability to be really quite focused on our target market. And it allows us to reach a group that previously wasn't reachable. Like I can probably find a group on, I can probably find a way to target people who dress their dogs in like fancy clothes. Like I can probably go on Facebook's ad platform and find those people, or I could go on YouTube and find people who watch lots of videos about how to treat your dog. And I could put my ads right next to those and be really, really quite focused about how I reach that group. But it's got to start with a very, very clear understanding. Okay, and so here we have two, and I would encourage us to be more specific when we're thinking about our own business. But people who value luxury with high level of disposable income. So we've got some sort of psychographic target there, haven't we? People who value luxury, but also a demographic thing of, and they have a high income. So that's one thing to consider. Pet owners in Alberta who enjoy travel. Again, it's bringing in a geographic, it's bringing in some different things there, but the more specific we can be. I mean, this is an example, but if this was my business, I would want to be much more focused. And I think actually having like, what do we used to call them? Like a buyer persona or an ideal customer avatar is a great starting point for this. If you can paint me a picture and have it in here of who is this customer that you are providing value for, I think that's a great starting point. Okay. And we won't do this now, but if we were in person, and it's definitely a question to ask yourself as you are exploring this idea of business, like, can you tell us in one sentence what is unique about your business? How do you serve your customers in a unique way? And in my experience of the many entrepreneurs that I speak to every week, this is a question that should be incredibly simple for us to answer, but is one that people consistently find very, very difficult. I know from when I had my business, I definitely found this difficult. I fell into that trap of thinking, well, I'm sort of for this group, and I'm for this group, and I'm for this group. And unique selling point, well, I just do this. Be specific and be deliberate about what yours is. And if you can answer it in a single sentence, I think that's a good place to be in. Yeah. Okay, and so we go on to now looking at the next part of the value proposition, and I'll just root back for a second. So we've got who we're serving, we've got our value proposition. Our next thing we're going to look here is the channels, the way that we're going to deliver our value proposition to our customer segment. Okay, and so these are the touch points that we have with our customers, the distribution channels we would perhaps have said in the past, and yeah, how we're going to reach them and deliver that value. And well, I can give some of them as examples here. So if I think about Business Link as an example here, we have our value is to bring education, free education and knowledge training to business owners. And we do that through a variety of ways. Like our website has lots and lots of information on it for business owners. So part of our value proposition, we use the channel of our website to get that information to people. I also use the channel of working with partners like Community Futures to bring audiences together for webinars like this. So that's another thing. In different times, I use in-person meetings, and I will go and meet people in their businesses one-to-one, and that would be another channel that I use. And for most businesses, I think it's usually more than one. So even if we own a downtown retail store, well, what other ways do we deliver value for clients? Is it our excellent customer service when we're on the phone? When someone calls and says, do you have that blue jacket in a size 8? Do we use that as an opportunity to deliver value to people and to help exceed their expectation? I think lots of businesses now will use social media to a certain extent. They'll use their website to a certain extent, but don't forget about those traditional those traditional channels of in-person contact and of bricks and mortar as well. And so, yeah, what are your channels for delivering that value? That's where you would put that. And quite often these are, we put them here because quite often there's costs associated with them as well. So it's getting us to think at an early stage that, yeah, it will be great. It's going to be awesome for me to have a 4,000 square foot retail store in a nice mall. But is it realistic with it as part of my business model? Like, it's going to be a major cost center for me. And, like here in this example, like we've got third-party booking sites. Well, that has to be part of the business model because undoubtedly it's going to be a major cost there. I don't know how much Trivago and hotels.com take, but I think it's probably substantial. So having it embedded in your business model at an early stage is essential. And the next part is very, very, again, tied to the costs that will either make your business model work or won't. And it's the customer relationships that we have. So it would be fantastic if we could all serve people with, dedicated customer service, lots of touch points, make regular phone calls to them to see how they're doing, all of those things. But for some business models, that just is not realistic. Like if we think about Amazon, they are probably working very, very tight margins. They're not going to be calling people after every single purchase. But if I'm going to buy a Bentley, I'm probably going to expect regular contact from the sales team, from the after service, all those. So what types of customer relationships are necessary for your business model to work? And I suppose it comes down to this, what is the expectation amongst your target market? So if we think about traveling business class on an airplane, we're going to have high expectations of lots of touch points, of dedicated service. If we're flying on a budget airline, we probably don't have those same expectations. It's going to be a lot more automated, that type of experience. So yeah, having awareness of that customer experience and the relationships from a very early stage of your planning is key. So, and we have here, and we can combine them even in things that we think actually they don't necessarily work that well that they are quite different. So for most people now, like they're very used to and enjoy that experience of booking online, which is an automated level of service. Essentially it's what we do when we go and self-checkout in Shoppers. It's automated. But then if we were going to stay at a high-end hotel, we're probably going to expect some sort of higher level in-person contact. And so we can combine those things for sure. And so my idea for Lisa's pet hotel is, she has online booking in all the places that you would expect, but she goes above and beyond because she's very much about that personal experience. So once a booking is generated online, someone will make a personal phone call. They're going to be there when they arrive at the hotel. They're going to check in with them. It's just, it's adding that additional value to the experience. So, yeah. Okay, and now on to, well, where's the money coming from? So it's great that we are providing lots of value to people and that they, they're getting all our they're getting all the value from us. But if there's no revenue streams, we're sort of running a charity. Well, even charities need money to make them work, don't they? So yeah, we have to have a business model that has revenue streams. And so I'd encourage you to think a little maybe outside the box with these. We can all say things like, we will sell our service or we will sell our product, and that will be the main revenue stream. But for most businesses, they can't and shouldn't just rely on a single revenue stream. It makes us extremely vulnerable to changes in the market, and unexpected times. And so what are opportunities for multiple sources of revenue in the business model that you see? I'll use an example. So there's a coffee shop that I know of, and without doubt, selling coffee to people to drink in and to take away is the major part of their revenue. However, to make their business work, they do some other things. So one, there's an apartment above the business and they rent that out. So that is something that helps them, helps their business model work. If they didn't have that $800, $900 a month from the above apartment coming in, they're going to maybe have to charge more for coffee. They're going to have to do things in a different way. So that's one thing. Another thing they have is like a fruit bouquet delivery. So from there, they have staff who at times may have some downtime, quiet times of the day. And so part of their business model is that those staff can then be deployed to make these fruit bouquets. And so it's a model that obviously works for them. They've been in business a long time, but they're not just selling coffee and that's the only place that they're making revenue. So yeah, that's definitely to be considered. In recent times, we've seen, I was speaking to a bookkeeper recently, and she had quite a large established clientele, and she ran the business and she had bookkeepers working for her. And so that was how she made her money. She would take a commission of those people working for her. But she's recently decided that she can deliver lots of value through providing training to other bookkeepers who aren't working for her, and even providing sort of how to get the sort of marketing side of the training. She was very good at getting clients. So she's created an online learning product, and that's become a source of revenue for her bookkeeping business as well. And so, yeah, thinking about different ways that maybe are non-traditional or not as straightforward as ways to help you support your revenue. And we've seen, I know with lots of things, we've seen whole new business models based on different revenue streams. I know the subscription razor blade market, like that's a different way of looking at a revenue model. In the past, things would be sold in a grocery store or wherever, in a drugstore, and that's it. So they've changed it and they've made reoccurring revenue based on subscription models. So we're seeing that more and more too. Okay. And the great thing about those subscription models is it really allows us to make some future plans as well. There's different ways to look at it, but by understanding, okay, I've got these people signed up for a month by month, I can serve them in a potentially different way. So the revenue model for Lisa's business, we can see three different things here. One, she has a pet-friendly restaurant, and so the revenue obviously comes from people buying food in the restaurant in a very conventional way. She runs pet treatment, so like pet massage and pet pedicures or whatever it might be. And so she's on a revenue share with those. So she provides the space and she takes a part of a percentage of the treatment cost. She has that, and then obviously she provides packaged stays of accommodation, meals, and treatments as well, direct to people. So she's got more than one source of revenue. Within there she may have venue hire, or she may choose to do outside catering. And I know that the recent times, COVID has seen people having to be inventive here and think about other opportunities outside maybe their core, what they've done forever, of making revenue. And I know even back in so that obviously I'm from the UK, what I saw and what I had was like a contract on my heating system at home. And so when it broke down, I didn't have the worry and the thing of having to find someone and set them. I just paid like a monthly amount, and that was, and when it came to it being fixed, I just called them and they came out. So, it's nothing particularly new, but it's definitely something to consider. Okay, so we're sort of getting to the point of being more filled in. Here we've got our revenue streams. We come to our cost structures. Our cost structure sort of comes at the end. Okay, and so now looking to what the key resources are. These are the things that we need to be able to make our business model work. And we don't always need to own them, but they are definitely the key pieces that will help our business model work. And so They can be physical things like maybe a location or a piece of equipment that are just necessary that they are in our business for it to work. They can be financial things. And again, it's worth identifying these very, very early. So for instance, a line of credit from our bank may be the financial asset that we need to make our business model work. They can be things like I've seen for some businesses, and it's pretty rare that this is the case, that in fact a certain type of insurance policy is an essential asset for their business. And it was it was a business which were bringing back big trailers from the factories in the States to Canada. And it's just the type of insurance that was needed for that. It was relatively specialized because these were brand new units and there was quite a bit of risk there, and not everyone, and it's cross-border and it's all of those things. And they really found it quite difficult to get that insurance at an affordable level. And so really that relationship with the insurance provider became a key part of their business model, really. And then obviously they may be human assets for us that we need to make sure that we have. So if we invest a lot of time and money in our people, they become key resources within our business. They're basically things that aren't easy to replace. And so if we think about the people, if we are running a Tim Hortons franchise where our staff turnover might be 150% a year, one individual member of staff probably isn't a key asset within the business. If I'm running a car dealership and I have one salesman who does 80% of my sales, I'm probably going to see him as a key asset within my business. And so I would make decisions around how I would protect against him going or mitigate some of those risks. And for some businesses, there might be intellectual things. So when we hear about businesses having patents or a secret recipe or whatever it might be, those are intellectual assets that we need to protect in some way and make sure that we, that they remain important parts of what we do. And so for Lisa, it's likely her key resources are going to be obviously the hotel, and it's designed for pets. It's not like she can just sort of leave one building and just easily walk into another. And she's going to be financing this with a bank. And so financing from the bank is going to be the other key resource for her. And there probably is other things in there as well. But at this stage, those are things that she would identify as being key resources to making this business work. Excellent. Okay. And next there, we're going to identify the key activities. These are the things that we as business owners, or the key functions of our business. And all businesses probably have marketing and financial management as part of that. Like, we probably don't even need to put that on there. We're going to have to manage our finances. We're going to have to make sure people are aware of our business. So those probably don't need to go on there. These are the things that are more specific to your type of business. And again, bringing it to life with some examples here. So in a business like a high-end hotel, we can expect customer relations to be a major part of this. And she's likely to have a lot of staff to make her business work. So perhaps human resource management becomes an important part for her. It's useful because it can help identify, well, what do we need as business owners, as entrepreneurs, to have in our skill set if we're identifying something here. And I think it's good for very small entrepreneurs to do this, because quite often we can go, well, I really want to open a coffee shop because I enjoy going to coffee shops and I like that experience and I like everything about it. But when it comes to key activities, things that we're going to be dedicating a lot of time to doing on a regular basis, they may not jive with, well, I like coffee and I like coffee, the experience of coffee, but the key activity we're doing in our business might be much more around human resource management or staff training or something like that. So choosing a business model that has you spending the time doing the things that you want to do is pretty important for small business owners. And so identifying those key activities. make your business work. I know, Michael, I don't know if you mind if I use you as an example here. I will anyway, since he's not there. So Michael had a downtown retail store, and I imagine it is lots of people, they have this sort of fantasy about running a retail store. They go into lots of them and they see how it all works, and they think, I like clothes, and this is something that I could do. Whereas I'm sure there are a whole set of activities that Michael was doing there behind the scenes to make that work, which weren't all about, I don't know, going to trade shows and choosing nice clothes. And there were probably key activities within his business, lots probably around financial management that he spent a good chunk of his time doing. And so, yeah, identifying, well, what are those things in your business? Really, really important. Okay, and so now we go on to, in a similar vein to the key resources, is the key partners, identifying these and making sure that we have a plan around them as well, to make sure that if we lose a key partner, our business can be maintained, can carry on. And so typically, I would say, similar to key resources, these are things that can't easily be replaced. And so for a steak restaurant, if they have a particular relationship, let's say with a certain farmer who produces these steaks for this meat for them, and it's hand reared and it's a special type of steak, well, that probably would be considered a key partner. The person, the people who provide their plastic straws for their soft drinks, probably not a key partner. They would be easy to replace in that business model. And so having an awareness of who our key partners are and thinking, okay, well, what would happen if that supply changed, or if that partnership no longer existed? This is just a good way of preparing ourselves in our business. I used to I knew a guy who had a letting agency, and he ended up just actually having one client. And he was a very specialist type of letting agency where he basically would work with banks, and he eventually ended up just working with the HSBC banks. And he would lots of them had space above, which could be apartments, in old downtowns and things like that. But the process for having someone in there for security and things like that, it's pretty complicated. So he ended up just really serving HSBC and working with them to get tenants in their apartments. And it was great. It was a really, really good business. He was very, very good about it. He was very good at it. But when someone new came into their property management team, thought that this was a bit of a waste and they could do this internally, the business ended. There was nothing from there. So having that awareness of the risks involved in some of your partnerships, really, really important. And identifying, okay, what expectations do they have and do you have in that relationship? And so for Lisa, we would expect some of these to be, obviously, for lots of small businesses, the bank or whoever's providing finance is likely to be a key partner. A key partner doesn't mean that we can tell them what to do necessarily, but they're a big player in the business. For her, maybe the Regional Tourism Association would be, or something like a niche marketing agency who only deals with clients in that particular sector. They could be a key partner of yours. And obviously we mentioned them here earlier in the revenue stream section of this. We would look to her treatment providers are going to likely be key partners. I would imagine that they're freelance, self-employed people, and without them, it's hard for her to make that aspect of her business work. And if she's in a major center and these people are relatively easy to replace, they may not individually be key partners. But if she's, let's say, in Banff and they're the only two pet treatment providers in town, they probably are going to be key partners. So where you are located, I suppose, is pretty significant there. Again, back to that retail store example, like I know lots of them, their suppliers will be key partners. Like if they're to lose that brand that they stock, it would impact their business in a way. So yeah, your suppliers are likely to be key partners too. Okay, and the final section here, and we'll have a completed business model canvas if we complete this section, is we're going to now really want to think, okay, well, what are the major costs in our business? And this is not a place that we outline line by line everything we're going to spend money on, but what are going to be the key figures that will affect how we operate our business? And back to that point I made before about the space, the location, that quite often is going to be a major have a major impact here. And so if your location costs are often going to be a large part there, and which key activities are the associated with large costs as well. And so I've broken it down into two here of thinking about, okay, well, what are our fixed costs? And these might be things like, my management salary or the costs of the building. And then what are the variable costs? So I think it's valuable. Definitely, if you're writing a full business plan, you're going to do this as part of the process. But understanding here, what costs am I going to be on the hook for each month, regardless of how busy I am, and what are those things that go up and down based on how busy I am, and splitting those out there. But like I say, it's not going to be absolutely everything in your business, but the things that are really going to move the needle, I suppose, and make a difference. I put this and it's often one that's overlooked, is this transaction fees and costs, but that can be like, let's say it's 3%. Like that's significant for businesses. If that's 3% coming sort of straight off, straight off your revenue, some businesses don't work then. Like if we look at your business model has to take that into account for sure. So obviously now we can see we've got the full business model canvas complete and developed. We're going to have time for questions, which is awesome. Now, there are a few considerations and things to think about before we do go into questions. And this is the title here is the most important. Like, it doesn't stop. So we don't complete this once and go, okay, well, that's my business model canvas. It's complete, it's done. I never need to think about it again. Because times change, and this year has definitely shown us that. So one, we might look to growth, and that's going to change how we do things and shake things up. But also, we can face unexpected change. So the business model canvas that we did last year, for many businesses, it might not even be that relevant anymore. Our customer needs have changed. And so how do we update our business model in that way? I put the final point here is like the value proposition. If we don't have a clear understanding of that, really the rest of the business model canvas is going to be pretty superficial. We need to have a very, very clear idea of that. And what I say is, so our next step from here really is, once we have completed something like this, we have to then do research, because all of these, I've spent my Tuesday afternoon completing this document, going through section by section, all the things that I would like my business to look like. But if I don't do research, this is just all my guesses. Like, these are my hunches, what I think might be the case. Like, I think my customers are these people, and I think this is what they want, the value proposition. I think that this is what they would value. But unless I go and do market research, I don't know those things. And that's where this is hopefully valuable to people. It gets us to start thinking about, okay, what type of market research questions will I have to go and ask? What do I need to go and find out to be able to be more certain about my business model? Like, for instance, does this customer segment, is this the channels they want to be reached in? Is this where they are? Like, or do they see themselves paying for treatments? Are they likely to go to a pet-friendly restaurant? So we got to go and find out, okay, it's great. We think this might be the case, but often we can be very inward looking in our business, like we feel like this, therefore our customers must feel like this. but really we need to go out and find that proof and ask those questions. So excellent. And so we've got some next steps here. And one is the value proposition canvas. And I'm not going to play this now, but I'll share this presentation with Michael, and then there's a link to this here. And it really just delves very deep into this relationship of looking at, okay, what do my customers want to get done? What do they find painful or annoying about the current offering that's out there? How can I benefit them? How can I make their lives better? And then this is about designing the product or the service that meets those needs that we identify in this section here. So it's a really valuable next step. Often we do these presentations, business model canvas, but what we find is that business owners need to do the value proposition canvas first to really understand, okay, who are my customers? What do they need from me? There are some great books. These are two of them. However, the Strategizer website is a great place to start if you want to learn more and find out in depth how your business could use this. I would definitely go on there and look at that before going straight into ordering those books there. And quite often a first consultation with me will be about going and asking you to go and do your business model canvas, and then we'll look through it together and go through that process together. And it's a good chance to ask questions or help you orientate, help me orientate what type of support you need, things like that. So yeah, super valuable from that point of view. Again, it's good. I did this last year for Community Futures in Medicine Hat in person, and it was great because we could actually work on these for all the different businesses as part of the session. Hopefully we'll return to days like that soon, but finding someone else, and I'm happy to be that person, but if you have someone else definitely in your network that you can share this with, so you'll do your business model canvas, perhaps they'll do their business model canvas, and get them to ask questions. Because again, you as the business owner can at times have a narrow view of what you want to do and the value that you provide. Okay. And on from that, it's about talking. And I said about market research. We can do the secondary market research, or at least we can get you the information from it. But you need to go and talk to potential customers and find out if what you have here is what they find interesting and what they want. It's having those conversations, so important. And then obviously on from that, you can create a business plan. If you have a need to do that, it's a great starting point. It's going to put you in a much better place. You'll find the process of writing the plan easier if you have completed the business model canvas first. I'll send an email follow-up. We won't send an evaluation just because I don't need it, but maybe Michael will. And yeah, feel free if you want to connect on for any market research, we can for sure do that. I won't put that because that's not up to date. But do we have any questions now? I know that I've spoken there for quite some time. We got 10 minutes left though.
We don't have any questions in the chat, but people are feel free to unmute yourselves and fire away. By the way, this was great, Matt. This is these are the pieces that people often miss, right? It's a double-edged sword, because the reason you're launching your business is because you have this passion for it. But then the passion can also be blinding to the realities and who your customers are, and doing the canvas properly, right?
Yeah, that's it. And I agree. I just think having that understanding of who my customers are and what I do for them, it's the thing that will guide you through the difficult times of having, we hear lots about having a mission or a vision. But yeah, that's okay. But really understanding what is my vision for how I serve my customers better. I think that's it. Like, what do I do for them? It's so important. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we don't have questions in the chat, but yeah, people. Oh, great session. Thanks for the great presentation, Matt. Yeah, and feel free, yeah, to reach out if anyone has like one-to-one questions. I'm more than happy to do that. It's a fun, like it's a tool. Like it definitely comes to life when you're doing it, and so presenting on it, it's one thing. I love just being able to actually work on it. What do you look for in a successful Canvas submission? So, like, thanks, Scott. This is a question in the chat. What do we look for in a successful Canvas submission? So, I don't think that I look for anything really other than like a thoughtful process, because this is a work in progress document. Like, it's designed to be like a little messy, you know, it's just capturing your thoughts. And so, I'm not looking for the perfect version of this, really. It's a great tool for interrogating your business idea and getting you to think. And so a successful one will have lots of clarity on who my customers are and what unique value I provide to my customers. Like that's what a great value proposition, business model canvas would look like for sure. Thanks, Colton, sorry, Cotton. Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Well, thanks, Michael, for organizing.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Next week we do market research. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like there's lots of information in that one. And so yeah, we can it'll definitely be an hour. Yeah, there's lots of information on there. And so obviously if there's anyone in the group now who is thinking about attending that one, thinking about what types of market research questions you would like answered is a good starting point. And so if we can have those like if you just come with something in mind and maybe even share in the chat in next week's session, like, yeah, what would I want to know or understand from market research? It's good because then I can speak with a bit of a context when I go through some of these databases, because there is quite a lot of that in the presentation of saying, okay, well, this is the information that is out there. Like what types of information you can get. And that's what we'll share in the session.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've posted the link to last week's. I'll get the link to this week's up as quickly as I can, and then you can review, you can share, you can rewatch, and we will see you in a week's time for the third session. Thank you very much, Matt.